of the authors that I've inspired myself from, her name is Robin Wall Kimmerer. If you have a chance to read the book Braiding Sweetgrass, please do. It's worth discovering. She is a botanist by trade, and she is a university professor teaching environmental botany in America, but originally she comes from Potawatomi. Potawatomi people. Okay, so she's a Native American, and she does brilliantly connect the scientific mindset and more profound Native American mindset, right? What she did, she ran a survey among 200 students who studied environmental botany in order to find out what is their view, how do they see the relationship between the human being and nature. And nearly all of them said it's a bad mix. That any interaction that we have with nature is negative. Interesting, okay? It seems that as their environment, as the lands got impoverished, so did their vision. And if you reflect a little bit, we are all impacted by it. So we need to be attentive. Okay. Ecological debates today seem partially a little bit polarizing. There is also an element, although it's important to people, that sometimes we aim for absolute solutions, it seems, that are anyway not achievable unless we convince all the governments of the world and all the corporations of the world to put the nature's interests first. Okay. But it's a reflection of our society today. It's not just an ecological problem, it's the state of mind that is reflected in the way we live our lives. So we need to carefully reflect and learn from it. There is not so rarely a culture of pointing fingers, who is to solve. There is this attitude of passing the bucket of responsibility to somebody else to solve it, isn't it? My favorite is the younger generation should solve it, and all of us should sit there doing nothing. Good, isn't it? Well, look, what we in the background, what we're thinking, oh gosh, just so that we don't need to do anything, to make no changes in the way we live our lives, make no effort, and hopefully the problem is going to go away. And this is where the real tragedy happens, because we start disengaging, we start resigning and giving up. And basically our mantra, our motto today is, oh, why bother, I can't do anything, everything that I do is meaningless, and we lose a lot of opportunities to do something that is useful. That's why, for instance, we organize tomorrow the workshop that is dedicated to making as natural as possible cleaning materials, because it's a useful action. And in that process we can learn from each other, but in reality is an action that is a reflection of this understanding of responsibility for the world that we live in. Because it's absolutely easier to buy the cleaning materials, okay? But, perhaps we learn a little bit more when we do it together in that. So this passivity and resignation takes away something very important from us. Not only the capacity to act in the today, to plant a seed of what could potentially become a new and better future, it also takes away from us something that is very beautiful and belongs to a human being. An individual that is free to harmonize one's own will with the natural ideals of life. Because we understand why. Mm-hmm. So we people of the 21st century have somehow forgotten to fall in love with nature. And we have forgotten to fall in love with wisdom that is hidden in nature. Mm-hmm. This is not to be misunderstood as tree hugging. By all means, please, if you like to do that, Please continue, there is a great experience, I'm not joking. Or that we isolate ourselves in the forests and in the woods so that we have no connection to the modern world. No, it's not that. It also isn't that, radically everything needs to change and we give up everything. It doesn't work. Not in this way. I'll use ancient Greeks to understand this concept a little bit wider. For them, they use the word oikos, which is the root of what other word that we know today? Oikos? Any resemblance?
Ecology.
Ah, very good. Yes. Do you know what the meaning of the word is? Where is it?
As in domestic.
Oikos. No, not really. It means home. Huh. They were at home. Of course, they had this great connection with the lands that they lived in, but it's not only that. They also were at home with the ideals that they found and observed in the nature that surrounded them. And in this way, they found a source of wisdom that inspired them and allowed them to discover, rediscover, unveil, practice, live the values that helped them to regenerate themselves and the relationship with the world that they lived in. Well, I like to use the world because nature, sometimes we misunderstand it as only the animal kingdom, only the mineral kingdom, and only the plant kingdom. But don't take yourself outside of that circle of nature. You understand? So the practice of ecology goes in all ways. It's very interesting. Because falling in love with something implies that we choose to belong. We belong to something. Okay? And when we belong to something, we want to emulate it. We want to be in solidarity with it. That is to say, I want to live in harmony with it. You understand why it's important? We understand a lot of things intellectually, but not with the heart. And so, it's not a decision of the mind, it's a decision of the heart. And what's very important is it's not only to fall in love with the physical aspect of nature, but with this invisible part of life. The wisdom, the hidden wisdom of life. And today, in small ways, we're going to discover some of the keys to connect with that wisdom through the wisdom of trees, which is a fascinating topic. And that pursuit of wisdom that is hidden in nature, as well as the pursuit of natural philosophy, is like it's a pursuit of natural ideals of living that kind of act like a guide for a human being. Give us a framework of living that awakens the best in the human being and allows us to relate to each other in the best possible ways, based on values and these ideals. So it's in everything you can find the timeless ideals, the intelligence of the inner being. If the world is alive, there is an intelligence that we can connect to with our intuition, with our heart, not necessarily with the mind. The mind we need in order to elaborate it, to express it sometimes, right? To articulate it, that's probably the best. But there is a great understanding that we can achieve as a human being through heart, intuition, imagination, as we have discovered in the first talk. And so that is what it meant for them to be at home. It is to have the deep roots. Okay? When I belong, when I have the sense of solidarity, I also have a sense of responsibility. It's a natural resonance. Okay? And the way I learn to honor that which I love is through my actions, through my behavior, through my daily decisions. Because understanding why it obliges me to adopt a way of living that creates the least negative consequence, a more ethical way of living, but also more living with a broader perspective, because suddenly I start to respect the timeless values of life, and I practice them because my consciousness chooses to do so.